We shall now move on with the next session. I've just got to remind you that business session number 9, strengthening trade policies and economic growth, को रद्द किया गया for reasons that the speaker was not able to join us today because of heavy traffic in the section of the government that he heads. We'll move on to our next special session, which is special session 3, growing demand of soybean in South Asia for human consumption. For this one, please welcome the Managing Director, DG Global Canada, Mr. Dwight Gerling.
Is it coming up?
It's full up there.
Oh, this side.
It's only this one that's
Hello, everyone. My name is Dwight Gerling, and I'm a soybean. Well, we do exports of all commodities, but I've been in the food-grade soybean world for 25 years now, so time kind of flies. But I'm going to do a quick presentation, a little bit onto South Asia, some of the market highlights. And then I'm going to really focus on, food-grade soybeans and what really happens in North America. So you have an idea what we do behind the scenes to make a better product into this region. So just a quick introduction. Soybeans is a high protein, probably the cheapest form of protein in the world. Soybeans are high protein. They have essential amino acids and low saturated fats. Some of the products that are made with soybeans are you have tofu, tempeh, soy milk, soy protein isolates. Into the South Asian market, there's a rise in veganism. There's increasing awareness of health, sustainability, animal welfare, and a shift in dietary habits, especially amongst the urban middle class. As you can see here on this chart, here's the growth over the composition of the soy market here in South Asia over the last 3 years. And the one thing I want to point out is you see tofu going up by 5%. So as a little in the soy industry, when you make soy milk, you soak soybeans, you add water, you grind it, and a little bit of soybeans make a lot of soy milk. When you see an increase in tofu, the difference with tofu is you soak the soybeans, you grind it, but then with the soy milk, you add a coagulant, and then you squish out the water, and that gives you tofu. So a lot of soybeans make a little bit of tofu. So as an exporter, you like to see, tofu increase because that's increasing the demand for soybeans. Some of the trends here, soy-based products are growing due to popularity in veganism and the flexitarian diets, and just the market becoming more health aware, campaigns promoting plant-based proteins as a healthier alternative to meat. The market in 2021 is about $400 million, and in over 3 years, it's grown to anticipated this past year of $950 million. So, everyone here knows that, North America, especially the US, is a really big contributor to South Asia, exporting crushed soybeans or soybean meal. In Canada, we're not even 10% of the entire US production. But in Canada, we're smaller, but we really focus on the food market and the key attributes of the food market. And this is what I want to kind of focus on now. So, when you see different companies, whether it's Soy Canada or USEC, they're known for the feed commodities because you produce over 100 million ton. However, there's a very, very specialized segment of the market being the food market. And there's a lot of money poured into this food market every year, developing new varieties. It's the collaboration between the federal government, colleges, universities, and private industry. And so we're sharing genetics, and we're developing varieties for specific food markets, whether you're making tofu, soy milk, tempeh markets. You're trying to develop a variety that's very suited to the specific use in the food market. So the one thing, when I talk with people or people come, there's a concept of a soybean's a soybean. It couldn't possibly further from the truth. When you ship a bulk vessel, those soybeans on there are a multitude of different varieties. We're food grade, we're selecting varieties based on specific characteristics, and I'm just gonna go through a few differences between companies who do this stuff. So here's a typical bulk vessel shipper based out of Canada. You see they have great big silos in those domes. They can hold 15, 20,000 ton of product. So you have multiple varieties of soybeans coming in. It could be, brown hylam, black hylam, white hylam, heat dried, stained. They sell their product on a minimum spec of protein. And, it's just a great number 2 spec, so anything kind of goes. It's big shipments of, 5, 10, 50,000 plus metric ton. Their customers don't really talk back. Their customers are chickens, pigs, beef. They don't choose what they're gonna eat. They eat what's in front of them. They don't make decisions on the purchasing of, the product that's coming. Now, on the contrast, just to give you the difference of the food market. So in the food market, you have a consumer, and they can go to a grocery store, they see multiple brands, they can select, they're making the purchase decision on what they're buying, and they're choosing what they want to eat. So when we're marketing or working with a food manufacturer, what does a food manufacturer want? So what they do is they're selling their products into, whether it's retail or into the food industry, they want the same repeatable flavor, they want the same texture, they want the same color. They want consistent production. They want to know if they put 10 bags of soybeans into their system, they soak it, they grind it, they add a coagulant, they get a consistent product time and time again. And that's like a big difference between the feed market and food market. People are creating brands, and they're trying to market their products based on those brands. So how is this achieved? So, it's a very key thing that we do in North America. So we're spending a lot of money on research of these varieties, and we're developing very, very good food varieties. Stuff that'll make a soft tofu, stuff that'll make a hard tofu. We're analyzing the protein. Soybeans have over 36 proteins in them. You focus on the 7S, 11S. Some are binding proteins, some are non-binding proteins. So we spend all this money developing these varieties, but the key is not to mix these varieties, and that's what really sets the food market apart. Once you develop these varieties, we keep these varieties segregated into individual varieties. And so that whole process, it's called identity preservation. And so within North America, especially in Canada, we've been doing it over 40 years. And so we're basically segregating those varieties based on their composition. So if we know someone's going to be buying soybeans to make deep fried tofu, we will segregate those varieties that make deep fried tofu, and that's what we're marketing. And so that they can put it into their system and get repeatable quality time and time again. In Canada, most companies operate on an IP program, and in Canada we have a program called CIPRIS. And CIPRIS is the Canadian Identity Preservation Recognition System, and it's audited by the Canadian Grain Commission, which is part of the Government of Canada. So they come in to audit your system to make sure you're doing what you're saying you're doing, you're keeping those varieties segregated, so you're able to market overseas. Part of the whole CIPRIS program is when if you buy a soybean bag from a food grade processor and you take the code off the bag, you can trace that right back to the farmer who grew those soybeans in that bag. You can even trace it back to the field that those soybeans are grown on. And so, people are developing a product and they want to market into Europe or market into other locations. They see this value. They want to know, food security. They want to know where it came from. So I showed you a picture of a bulk vessel shipper. Now here's going to contrast a facility that's a food grade plant. So you can see instead of a couple big silos, you have multiple smaller silos. And that's to segregate the varieties. So we're segregating all the different varieties that we're contracting, and we might do 10 or 15 varieties. And so you don't want to commingle those. You want to keep them separate. And so that's a really, really big difference. Another big difference when we're quoting in the food market, if you're selling crushed beans, they're always quoting, 34.5 as is basis. In the food market, we sell dry matter basis because all you really care about is the protein that's in that soybean. So, a little trick that some countries do, which is actually a negative effect for the food market, is if they have a lower protein bean, what they'll end up doing is they will heat dry it you take out the moisture, you drop moisture to 7-8%, it increases on an as-is basis the amount of protein in it. However, when you go to make tofu, if you soak your soybean and it's been heat dried, you're damaging that protein. So when you get your soy milk and you're putting your coagulant, you will get less binding protein, so lots of that protein will go out in the milk. So, consumers think they're buying a higher protein bean, but in the end, they're getting a lower yield because someone heat dried their beans just to make it appear that they have high protein beans like other food grade sellers. Also in these facilities, we have very, very high-tech cleaning equipment. So, when customers get their product, they want to make sure there's no stones, glass, etc. They want to get that bean and put it directly into their system. As I mentioned earlier, our size of our shipments, rarely will food-grade soybeans go in bulk vessel because you want to keep that traceability. So we ship in containers, but we can do 5, 10, 50 containers at a time. And so you have that traceability in those containers, and that's kind of a key thing. You always want that traceability. So some challenges and opportunities in the market. I think some challenges are limited consumer awareness in the rural areas of South Asia to the benefits of soy and soy protein. Limited manufacturer awareness on the benefits of using a high quality soybean to make their product and to make a repeatable product. And then the other challenge in here is like tariff and non-tariff barriers. Like coming into India, we could have the best beans and move to the market, but just the duty on Canadian or US soybeans coming in the market kill that opportunity. But some of the opportunities that you have here is collaboration between South Asia and North American agribusiness. And the one key thing with this is we've been exporting soybeans to Southeast Asia and Japan for 40, 45 years from North America. We have a lot of understanding on what they want, how they make stuff. And this is something that we can be sharing with this region because we have plenty of experience over the years dealing with these other countries. And as you see, like the Right to Protein by USEC, you have government organizations that are, pushing the benefits of soybean and, soy protein in the health side of it. So that will also, drive demand in the market. So in conclusion, I think there's a lot of potential for South Asia to continue growing, and it will continue growing in the food market. North America, as you can see, we've put a lot of investment into soybeans that are specifically for the food market. So I think there can be a lot of collaboration for our countries to work and improve and increase this market and the demand in the market. And so with that, I want to thank you for those who stuck around to listen to me talk. In the back corner, if anyone's interested, I put in like 3 jars. 2 would be like food-grade soybeans that we would be exporting to a tofu maker, soy milk maker. Then I have a small little jar that would be like crushed beans going into animal feed, so you can kind of see the difference. So feel free, I'll leave them sit out there. You guys can go check it out. And if you see me outside and you want to have any questions, feel free to ask me. And once again, thanks for letting me participate in this organization, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. May I please request to stay on stage for a brief second? May I also request from BACF, Managing Director Mr. Agarwal, and Ms. Tomar, Chairman, to please step up on stage. Dwight, if you could join us at the center of the stage. We have 2 recognitions to give to Dwight. One, of course, is the plaque for having spoken, and the other is a recognition and a trophy for being involved with the success of this South Asia Agri Forum. I've been told that after deafening silence, there's always deafening applause. Don't break my heart. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dwight.